Another episode of the Real Estate Blueprint Podcast. I am your host, Austin, aka More Than an Agent, here with my co-host, per usual, my Dominicano hermano, John Soto. What's the word today?
Blessed, better than yesterday. Feeling a lot better than yesterday. Yeah. So another day at a time, another grind. Let's get going.
Okay.
We have a special guest today.
You know it. Very special. Very, 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 very special. And glad she was able to fit us in her calendar, which is jam-packed, and humbly always appreciative. Today's guest, a true figure in the connected space as far as business development, entrepreneurship, wealth protection, wealth advancement. And we're going to be able to tap into how she got started, the community that she's been able to build and successfully inspire, which is extremely challenging in today's world, considering the fact that in this information technology, you got to be able to put up what you talk about. And she does that. Ladies and gentlemen, Nekei Lewis. Nekei, how are you? Thank you for taking the time to come on the show.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for having me here in the studio. I love it.
Let's tap into it. So, bring us through how you got started. I feel like a lot of people don't necessarily start off in the business space. Maybe you did, but a lot of people kind of have that aha moment, and then they kind of transition into the business space, the world of entrepreneurship. How did that occur for you?
Yes.
Yeah, talk to us.
So I got started really with helping other people when it comes to their ideas. You know, a lot of times people notice that I was really good at taking my idea and making money from it. Not a lot of people can do that. So over time, I, was able to perfect that. And not only that, I was very creative when it comes to, I started learning, especially when it comes to your business, the first thing you need to do when you start a brand is, making sure that you have your logo and, you getting the basis of like your LLC and all those things started. So I actually got started advising and helping other startups, right? I've coached over 500 startups and entrepreneurs in the past 10 years and helping people with their ideas and being able to make money. So,
and were you doing that as a consultant, or were you part of a job as an employee doing that?
No, my own business.
Awesome.
Yes.
Did you have a job at all, or did you just go straight in?
No, I had a job.
Okay.
I was doing it, on the side, and then it started growing little by little. Until I said, you know what? I think that entrepreneurship, like I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I've actually, worked and have at least 12 different brands of my own and companies. And I've went through a lot of trials and tribulations. And I said, you know what? I enjoy helping other people. People love what I do when it comes to their business and being able to help them scale and taking their idea to the next level. So I got started there. And then I realized later on, through trials, tribulations, through family and also my own, like, how do I be able to take this now and help people on the financial side? Because I was helping people develop their business and create their business and grow and scale their business. But at the same time, it's just like, now how do we now tap into the money side of this?
Do you think that, like, at what point, right, where you're now helping a bunch of individuals, why didn't you stay in the startup space where now you can have the ability to maybe transfer that into equity, where now you're like, hey, like, I'll help you on a consulting end, but now maybe I'll just want 1%. And like some of these startups, they go completely massive, and then you go that particular route versus
I did keep a couple startups, and I do have still a couple of startups.
There it is.
That I do have equity plays on, which I've been growing and building with them, for a few years now. And we're making those strides to do that. Because sometimes people don't realize some companies may need like 5 or 10 years, depending to really just master the whole space. And especially a lot of times you're with a lot of different innovative ideas that need that extra space and time. So I'm on the brink of that. So I'm super excited. But that's why I didn't, completely just leave the space. But meaning like and it's also time consuming. People have a lot of change, especially dealing with business owners,
Right.
They have a lot of ideas, there's a lot of things all the time. So it's just like I realized, like, you know what? I think that my passion more lies, not only, I'll do that later once I, scale to the level that I want to have my brand, and then I'll just add that as an extension, but it hasn't completely died off yet.
Did you focus on like specific startups, like a specific niche, a specific category?
No, just people with
helping?
a lot of times. I mean, some had existing companies. I've worked with nonprofits, lipstick, makeup brands, people with those kinds of ideas, people with restaurant concepts. A lot of people came to me with a lot of out of the box concepts of things, and it's like how to get that going, and just giving them the bidding stages. Because again, it's in the hands of the entrepreneur. I can only lead you to the water. I can't make you drink.
This is very true.
Yeah.
This is very true. And unfortunately, I'm pretty sure you recognize that with clients. So
Yeah.
I can only imagine a whirlwind of personalities and just business goals, desires, passions, and you're trying to align and make sure that everybody's staying on the same path, essentially. Talk to us about and we'll transition to everything that you're doing now. But where did the business acumen come from? Right? Where? Remind me where you're from.
Yeah, I'm from Trinidad and Tobago.
Okay. Trinidad.
Yes.
Trinidad. Yeah.
I love that curry.
The beautiful part about it, the reason why, and it's great that you brought that part, or it was a good question, but there's a stigma that in America, some of the most successful entrepreneurs are not even from America.
Sounds about right.
It sounds about right.
Right?
Yeah,
No, it's real.
yeah.
They, yes. So, where did that business, they're not tying the two together,
of
but
course.
where did the business acumen come from? Did you see somebody that made you, or did this start just as you were a little girl and you were just like, I just want to do this?
It started as a child. Like my parents were not necessarily my parent that I was living with at the time, which I grew up with my dad. So he wasn't a business owner.
Okay.
He was a regular, working individual. But for me, I just started literally at the age of 8, and I was like, you know what? I've told this story sometimes a little bit before, but as a child, I had my younger you have your clothes and stuff as you're growing up, and I was like, you know what? I want to, have some little extra money. So, and my dad would let me do it. So what I do is I'd take all my clothes and stuff that didn't fit me anymore, and my toys, everything that I didn't want, and I would go outside of my house and I would set up a table. And I would put dollar on everything and whatever. And I would hang up the stuff. On a Sunday, I would just sit there outside with my stuff. And it's like, well, I'm going to, sell my stuff.
Is this in Trinidad?
No,
or
that's
is
here.
this,
That's
this is
here.
here? Okay.
This is actually, so just, we're actually in my hometown, which is Clifton.
Oh, shout out. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So shout out to Passaic County.
Shout out to Passaic County. But, so yeah, that's what I would do. And, the first time I actually started seeing and people would walk by and they're like, oh, they would take my little top or shirt for $2. I was like, wow, okay, so I could make some money doing this stuff. You know what I mean? They were supporting me, and I would just sit out there just selling stuff, and he wouldn't say anything to me.
And I'm just taking notes because this just inspires me to always ask kind of the next question here. And I love it, and I just don't want to miss this particular thought process. I love it because the interesting part is that sometimes people are born with a natural talent, and they're able to bring that kind of to the forefront, and other people might have to tap into another space, whether it's a mentor, whether it's books, podcasts, articles, whatever the case, to get that inspiration. You just off the rip and was just like, no.
Even then. So then I went to college, right, for business management. I wanted to learn business. It was just something I was interested in. Actually, also, and then I was in elementary school. I actually built a demo of a gym, and I had this vision for this gym. I still haven't seen this gym yet that I designed in my head. And I was a project, go start something, and that's what I did. And I had a whole gym franchise concept I wanted to build. But again, I was so ahead of my time. I didn't know what the hell to do with me. He's like, she's over here building gyms and selling. I don't know what she's doing. But anyways, and then college, I was like, you know what? I really want to start a business. I really want to learn the business. I went to school thinking okay, college is going to help me to learn the business. How do I become a business owner? You know, I went in there learning science and all this other stuff. Like, this is not gonna help me run a business. Like, I need to run a business here. Like, I'm a businesswoman. But anyway, so then I was like, okay, well, I decided after that college wasn't for me, and I left.
Okay. After how many years?
2.
2 years.
Yeah. And
Sophomore year.
Yeah. I was like, no, that's not for me. And then I just like, you know what? I started actually my own, my first business outside of college was a model agency. And that was a whole experience. But yeah, I had a model agency. And then I actually solidified my first deal with Coors Light. And they used my models for their campaign, which is interesting.
That's cool.
So yeah.
How do you start a model agency?
You find some hot girls and sign them. That's what I did.
Okay.
And then go find them. Then go find them contracts and deals and stuff to get them paid.
How long did you actually do that for? The model agency?
I did it for a little bit, a year or two, you know. But then these ladies, they was demanding, and you know, we dealing with beautiful women. It was a lot.
It's
when
a
you got
totally
20, 50,
industry.
30 bottles, and they just, you know, oh, we need this, we need that, we need this, like, ooh. But yeah, that was those acts.
Well, shout out to all the models. The interesting part about it, and this is a perfect segue actually, but the thing that never has ceased to amaze me is how many different businesses and avenues that you've like been tapped into, and continue to plug yourself into.
A lot.
And the thing that obviously we kind of got connected like off the real estate end was the wealth protection segment or leg of your entire like empire.
Yeah.
And now that I'm thinking about it, as I just said it, it actually makes perfect sense. As an entrepreneur who's running multiple businesses that's putting themselves in various scenarios in which deals are getting done, there's a lot of money that are being contracted to be exchanged. That at the end of the day, there's equity positions that are being created, there's ownership that is being negotiated. Asset protection is one of those subjects that people kind of put in the back seat until they're in the situation and they're like, damn, I wish I had better protection.
Yeah.
So talk to us about how with these companies and then your segue into the insurance and asset and wealth protection industry.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, I realized, you know, later on that even as a business owner, this is stuff that's like not even talked about. So I went through a very period of my time, I would say another transition period. You know, I left New Jersey, went to Florida, lived in Florida, came back to New Jersey, New York, came to New York, and I was living in New York with a family member, and one of my family members actually, didn't have those kinds of things in place, but I was put in a position where I was, you know, helping that family member and assisting them, and, you know, it just happened to be, wow, like, what is a will? I have no idea, because unfortunately that family member passed, so I had to figure out now, okay, like, what is a will? What is insurance? No one talked to me about this stuff the entire time. And I've talked to a lot of different businesses, different people.
Was there any real estate involved when that happened? Okay.
Nope, no real estate, nothing like that. So then I was like, wow, like not only it was traumatic, but you know, and it took a while for me to get over things, especially when you lose someone close to you, that means a lot. And then not to have those things in place, and then like having to go and do a GoFundMe and raise funds. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, it's not the easiest thing. And I was like, you know what? Wow, this is not talked about in our community. Like, I've held a lot of startups and businesses, and nobody was, you know, ever brought that to my attention. So I said, you know what? I need to learn this because there's no one in my family that understand this. I want to make sure that I can be that personal icon, at least have that, because I got a lot of experience, a lot of industries,
right?
You know. And that was not one of the experiences because I thought like, oh my God, I got to go to some big fancy college, get these big degrees. You know, I didn't think that I could learn it on my own. Yeah.
That's a very important like, aspect of it, especially for, you know, I can speak on our community, but like at least for our community, it's definitely, you know, it's a challenge. And GoFundMes and fish fries are, you know, the stuff. And the two most probably guaranteed most costly events is when you came into the world and then when you leave.
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about will and trust. What is a will? What is a trust? Which one is better than the other one?
Yeah. So I tell individuals all the time, like, it's not about like necessarily what's better, but it's really what's better for you, because everybody's situation is different. A will is going to be allowing you to transfer those necessary assets, whatever you have, even if it's your favorite guitar, like you could put that in your will. You want that specifically to go to somebody because they're going to value that. Like, we work for our assets and stuff in our life, and we want to make sure we pass that on. So a will, unfortunately, does go through probate, right? So all the items and everything in the will go through probate, but it's better if you have that paperwork in place and then not having nothing, because then it's going to actually take more time. Right. So now if you have assets like a house, or, you have cars and a business and all these other things, now that's all got to go through probate. But the will makes it the process a little bit more easier. So at least they know what's supposed to go to who, and then they're not just trying to figure out and let the court decide. You don't want the court to decide. You want to decide, right? So that's what a will helps you to do in a very simple terms. I like to keep things very simple for people. And then on a trust would allow the things that you have, especially like assets and stuff, not to go through probate. So it'll still go through a court process, but it won't be as a lengthy of a process. But it's easier, and again, with different, taxes and stuff like that for a trust, just helping that to be a more easier transition.
They say that like trusts are like the most like protected class, like when it comes down to real estate and everything like that, like especially for individuals that are buying real estate.
Yes.
Go like unpack that a little bit more. Somebody, at this point, our listeners, they got a nice portfolio and they plan on building a portfolio, 10 properties.
Yeah.
10 properties. And, they're thinking about how they can make sure that things are protected. Putting it in a trust, what does that do differently than a will for the people listening? Because can't in the will you say, hey, listen, such and such gets this particular property, such and such gets it, and then that's it, and then it's very self-explanatory.
Right. So it goes back again, like to the cost, and I tell people there's hundreds of different types of trusts. There's a lot of trust that people don't understand. So that's why it's very good to have a team that understands and make sure you have, the right legal counsel so you understand what works for you. Whether you're doing a revocable trust, meaning that you're going to make changes. So example, like you said, you may want to put that.
Trust.
Yeah, you want to put the property into revocable trust. That allows you to make changes. Let's say, you marry Sue later and you're like, you know what? I don't like Sue. I want to go ahead and move Sue off of my trust and she's not getting that house. Okay. So you can do stuff like that. Or if you want an irrevocable trust, meaning it makes no changes, because sometimes, you might be getting older. You might be losing your mind. I don't know. Things happen. And you're like, you know what? I want to make sure my daughter gets the trust. Nobody else gets that house, right? In that trust. And irrevocable means zero changes. And there's some also benefits as you're getting older to doing that. And again, it depends on what you have, your assets, and then the attorney will kind of recommend those things, right? So, I think that would help on that.
So if you have an irrevocable trust, and let's say you married someone too, and you're not with them anymore, you can't make any changes. No. She's stuck with that. Yeah. She's keeping that forever.
There's no changes.
Oh, wow.
That's forever. It's forever.
And that's what I know, right? I'm sorry, Ms. Jackson. And that's whether it's a spouse, a business partner. Does it have to be familial? Or can it be like a business partner? For example, if me and you bought this particular building and then we establish a trust, who establishes the trust and then who?
Yeah, that's all in the details of the basics of the trust.
Okay.
So again,
but business partners would be able to do so.
Every situation's different. You guys can be able to do that.
Right.
And that's like, it just depends on who, what, when, where, how. Like literally, because the lawyer can just dictate exactly that for that trust. That's why it could be very tailored, and it can be custom, and it can be specific. So people who are investors, you have properties. Don't just leave your properties and don't put it in a trust. Like you want to make sure that you have these things set up, because it's not promised. And guess what? We can't take those houses in our graves now, can we? So guess what? You're working hard for these stuff. Put your things properly how it's supposed to be, right? We don't talk a lot about this in our situation. We think like, oh no, I'm good, this, that, and the third. But we don't think about the aftermath. We don't think about what people have to go through. We don't think about the paperwork. We don't think about the estate taxes. So you want everyone to figure out how we're supposed to like run all these houses and do all these things. when they've never done it. They have no experience, right? And then you don't even know how experienced that they might be. Then you could detail stuff in a trust. Maybe you never want that house to be sold. Maybe you only want it to be, there's so much things that you can do. Okay. You see what I'm saying? Pass a generational wealth.
This might be a tax question, but let's say a house is in a trust and it's allowed to be sold. If it's sold and capital gains are involved, does the trust pay the capital gains, or how does that work?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of a little.
That's an interesting question.
I mean, I'm not a tax professional, financial side, but at least from what I know, that has to do with the trust. And remember, the trust is also, it has an account, it's different stuff like that. It's an entity. You're paying stuff that's dealing with that. I mean, that would only make linear sense.
That's a really good question.
But yeah, always consult your tax professional based on your situation. Disclaimer.
No, that's actually a really good question. Bringing it back to the trust. If that's the case, why didn't everybody just go after a trust? Like, why do wills and is the fundamental difference the cost? Okay,
all right. Cost.
Dinero.
10 times more.
What's the difference? What are we looking at?
5 times more, 3 times more.
Somebody goes, we want to go establish a will.
Remember, multiple properties. Yeah, so. It's more on the cost side, and then there's cost of running the trust. Depending, again, there's hundreds of trusts, and depending on what you put in, how you set it up, it's all cost involved.
There's a monthly fee or like an annual fee for a trust?
There's certain fees. There's certain fees.
Okay. With running the trust.
Yeah, there's fees ongoing with that. So you want to make sure that you understand, so that's why some people just do the cheap router, and they just say, hey, we're just going to put everything in the will. Y'all figure it out later. Do
you recommend this is something for new investors, like individuals that have, bought their first property FHA and house hacked and bought their second property, and then should they automatically start just looking to put that in a trust, or is this something for like people that have a little bit more, a larger portfolio?
Yeah. So, again. Assets, all assets.
Just go into the trust, right?
Because tomorrow's not promised.
It just make it just very simple. Yes. I don't blame you.
Work on trying to do that step first, and again, it depends on the investor. It depends, there's some certain things you gotta do stuff with the deed and transfer titles and all that other stuff. So certain things, there's stipulations, especially with your mortgage. Can you do that? You're not allowed to do that.
And is there any difference between somebody putting these particular properties in the trust when it's under their name versus an LLC? Mm-hmm. Like if, I have this property in my name under FHA or conventional loan versus, hey, my LLC bought this particular property.
Yeah, it'd be the trust buying the property, not you.
Right. But I'm talking about when that's done already, and then you want to transfer it into a trust. Or is it the same process, whether it's me that owns it or whether it was my LLC that owned it? It was never in a trust, but now I'm like, oh, wow. I got 2 properties, one in FHA, one conventional, and then I got another property that I was able to buy 20% down in my LLC. I want to put all 3 properties in a trust. Is there anything that stops or any roadblocks between the assets that are in your personal name versus in the LLC or anything like that?
It has to do all with the deeds and stuff. There's again, it's dealing with the title and the deed.
Right.
You have to retitle things.
But you can still transfer everything right into the LLC.
If you can retitle it and you're able to do so, you can.
If you can retitle it, okay.
You got to retitle it.
All right, so whether personal, okay, got you. So whether personal or LLC, everything's going to be retitled into the actual trust, and the trust is the actual owner of the what's it called. Okay. Well, then that's an interesting question, because then is it just a quick claim deed? Or you're just quick claiming the property over? You don't have to worry about any refinances. Well, obviously you're not refinancing. There's really no need to. You don't refinance into a trust. You're refinancing into an LLC. But okay, so then you would just quick claim the deed, the property over. Makes sense. Okay. All right, cool. What is the thing that people miss when it comes down to insurance that can help things be a little bit more sexy and digestible? Because it's so unfortunate, and we won't stay on the topic too long, but it's not until something happens seriously that you wish you had the best protection, and it's one of those things that get missed. They require insurance on our phones. They require insurance on our cars. Right. And the only thing that makes us do it, if you really think about it, is the fact that it's mandatory and that we'll get...
Mandatory.
And I say mandatory, just maybe not your phone, but your car.
Right, yeah.
But your car, it's mandatory.
Yes,
you need it so it kind of forces you. But how can we make it
Home
more
insurance, too.
digestible? Home insurance, homeowners insurance,
Mandatory.
It's
they're mandatory.
Yes.
So like
health insurance is mandatory.
health insurance
It's mandatory now.
is mandatory. You'll get penalized if you don't have health insurance.
Why can't we?
But why isn't life insurance?
Why can't we do?
Why
that for
isn't life insurance, asset protection mandatory? And
It's not mandatory.
No, I know. Why is it not? Why is it not?
Yeah.
Well, I don't even care about why not, but how can we imprint it on the people that you should be taking it the exact same way? You should accept it as mandatory the same way.
Very simply, it comes to generational wealth, right? Because what you're doing, everything else that you're getting insurance on is to protect who? The other person. Their stuff.
Now, what if it's just you by yourself?
Right? It's for them to make money. Right? You're paying this so that they can charge you, so that if you have an accident, this, that, and the third, or replacement, it's all protecting their stuff, not your stuff. Guess what? When it comes to you now, and especially in this life, you got to protect your own stuff.
Right,
No one's going to be like, okay, your life is so important, right? We're going to go ahead and make sure you are worth $3 million. Okay, so if something happens to you, guess what? Your family gets that money. People don't care. They don't care, right? You've got to say that, you know what? I want to be different. I want to make sure that my family has generational wealth. I want to make sure that all my assets are protected. I want to make sure that I set up this insurance because I care. And a lot of times people just don't care. And I just see a lot of people just move like that, especially people in our age group, in their 30s, 40s. They don't care. Right? But they don't understand they don't understand the game of how it's played and the game of the money game, right? You're working, you're building assets, you have maybe children, you may have loved ones, you may have little nieces and nephews you care about. There's so many people to your bloodline, and we're not talking about that enough. We're not talking about generational wealth, how we can make sure that the next generation doesn't have to work as hard. Because our ancestors and everybody, they've been on the slave plantations and doing all this other stuff from those people that have actually lived here in America, and they've gotten us this far, where we can walk around, women got rights, this, that, and the third, and whatever. But what about after that? What are we doing in our generation to kind of help that legacy literally be, making sure they got their trust? And another big thing is making sure that not only just a trust, but a trust fund, right? That same insurance can now go into a life insurance trust fund.
Talk to us about that. Break that down for us. Break that down for us.
Keep it going.
Yeah. So when it comes to life insurance and the trust funds, the life insurance, you don't have to just have it just go to Susie, right? Because guess what? Susie might say, you know what? I got a new boo. I'm going to go ahead, go buy a new house. We're going to live forever happily and forget him. Whatever. Right? You don't want to just do that. You say, you know what? I want to make sure that my kids, I want to make sure that they spend this money this way. I don't want them buying Lamborghinis and Ferraris with my $5 million policy. Okay? I want you guys to buy assets, and you could title it. You can have them making sure that it's designated to do that. And it's making sure that it actually has to do this. And they only could take about this much. You literally can customize a trust and have a trust fund. Ways. Yes. And this is what the rich do. They do this, right? Yep. So now, as investors, as real estate investors, as people who want to promote generational wealth and legacy, we want to be able to take that now and say, okay, the next thought process is the next generation should have trust funds. And that's what I'm all about this year and the year coming. And after that, it's just like pushing that narrative more. Like, get your policies, get your assets protected, get your things organized, and even have something. Even if you can't do the trust right now, do a will. And we can do that. Make sure you have that.
So basically, the life insurance policy, if they have, let's say, a $5 million policy, once that person passes away, the policy goes into the trust fund, and you can direct what they can invest or utilize that money for. Interesting.
You can do that. It costs a little money. You do it, of course. But it can be done.
Gotta pay to play.
You gotta pay to play, right? But guess what? That little extra step could go a long way, right? Because now, let's go back to policies. So now we can maybe, let's say we want to set up what we call the family bank, right? I talk a little bit about the family bank strategy with the policies, right? How now the money from you, if you have, let's say 10 family members, you guys all have the money going into this trust or this, basically that account. All the policies go there. And now everybody, right? From your bloodline, you could designate it, say, you know what? Now, Susie, Tom, Joe, and Harry, if you guys want money for something, here's a designation for this policy, this trust. What about you guys starting a business? Anybody who comes here from my bloodline, right? You guys can get $25,000 to start a business. And then when you guys come back, we'll sit down at the table and we'll see how much did you make from that profit. Did you flip the money? What did you do with it? Da, 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 da. If it continues to grow, you could come back and maybe get another $25,000, right? And literally now everybody's like, okay, well, I know such and such. I could go here and I could be that family person to really talk about generational wealth, and now helping all your bloodline create businesses. Just saying.
I know, right? Simple, not easy. There's a couple of things I want to unpack there, because that's really good stuff. Do you think that? Oh man, because it's so simple, but like so effective. But like I can only imagine what it's like to try to get like as many family members like on one accord, and just like, you know what I mean, just making sure that even with the blueprint, like if you just like set it up, that if you follow it, I promise you'll bring the family glory. Let's do this. With everything that you're mentioning right now, 2025 is right around the corner, at least for the at the time of this particular recording. 2025 is right around the corner. What would you have as the financial blueprint that everybody should be either acting on or at least double checking over the course of the next year, just to make sure that the things that they have built over the course of however many years is protected and in a space where it's safeguarded?
So I would say, as part of the blueprint, really just seeing where you're at. And that's something that we do, in my company, which is figuring out where you're at right now. And then now figuring out, okay, what other goals, checking the paperwork, pulling all those policies. Like people think like, oh, I got a policy for my job. Oh, I got a policy here. But I was like, okay, well, where is it? It's, in a drive. It's in a PDF somewhere on the, you don't even know where it is, right? And people think that the insurance agent is going to magically come and knock at your door like, hey, guess what? Your so-and-so died and we now got your money. And you've got to follow a claims process like with anything, right? And sometimes people forget. And that's why there's a lot of unclaimed money. Right? Because they put it in the unclaimed bucket because there is a policy, someone died, no one put a claim. Sometimes you have companies that will reach out, right? But it's not always like that. So again, get all your information, get all your ducks in order. You have old wills, look at it. You have old policies. Your parents, oh my God, your parents, they be thinking in their mind that, oh no, I'm good. I've been doing a lot of reviews lately for people's parents, and let me tell you, they're not good, right? It's not enough, okay? They think they know. They don't understand what they bought because guess what? There's so many different types of insurance. There's different types from accidental. There's term that expires that can get more expensive.
Let's talk about all the different types and what each one is.
Yeah. So, I mean, like accidental policies are super cheap, right? You may see like, $1 million for like $10 or something, right? But literally you have to pass in a train, moving, in a plane. You see what I mean? And people ain't reading the blueprint. They're not understanding that that's what that is. And they think, like, they're like, oh no, I got $1 million policy. I'm paying $10. I'm good. No, you're not good. Because guess what? If you die with a heart attack, you're finished. Your family's finished. And they're getting what? Zero. They're getting zero.
Not even the cash value?
Nothing. Nada. There's no cash value in accidental. But again, wild. A lot of these companies, again, they...
Please read your policy.
Please read your policy, right? That's why I said I love to do reviews because I'm like, okay, listen, if you're good and your agent, did well by you, I'll say congratulations, sir. You're well on your way. But if not, I'm going to say, we need to take a look at this, honey, because it doesn't seem what you thought it seemed, or it's not enough, right? Oh, I have $100,000. $100,000? That's nothing. $300,000, that's nothing. Okay? Because the average child, you need like what, 300,000 just to take care of their lifetime almost. 400, 500. Right? Not including buying a house. Then the cost of living is rising. So guess what? We're not even taking into consideration inflation, right? So you have the accidental, then term. Term can either be like 10, 20, 30 years. So for the investors that are watching, again, if you have, your homes and stuff like that, that's also something you want to make sure that you have those policies to cover that too as well. So God forbid something happens, the mortgage is paid off. No one has to worry about that. And then now that new asset can then go into your trust or whatever that you wanted to do, right? So that's 2. And then 3, you want to make sure that you have at least whole life. I tell each whole life covers your entire life, right? So with coverage, that's another type. Then in the whole life side, there's stuff you're going to see people like, what about the IULs, Nekei, right? So the IULs on the index side is like you're making money. You could borrow money. You could put lump sums of money. You could then use that and, go and buy a house. Then pay it off when you sell it or you're flipping it and then borrow from yourself. But guess what? Interest is still growing. You're still making more money than if you had your money in the bank. So why would you not do that process, right? And understand that game. That's a paper game in itself. Right. Right?
Is IUL for the infinity banking, or what does IUL mean?
Yeah, so you can some. So again, it's partially dependent on how much, what policy and how you can do it. But again, it's all about how much money you're putting in that allow you to take it out. Again, I like to set up different things more on the whole life structure so that you can take it out faster. So if you need to do it more in 30 days rather than a year. Again, it just depends what type of policy. But between the IULs and the whole life is kind of like where you're at with that.
So those are like the 4 common: accidental, term, whole, and is IULs as part of it? As far as like the common ones?
Yeah, it's still part of the whole life. And then there's
part of a whole life, okay.
Right, and also the final expense. So final expense is another part of whole life. Whole life has a lot of little branches. And final expense covers your final expense. So that's burial expenses, cremating expenses. Right? Every American should have 3 to 4 policies doing each of these things, different things. Most people think that one policy is good enough. It's not good enough. 4 to 5 policies which you need to have covering different stuff. Because guess what? That $1 million policy that you think that you have that is, there, guess what? If you die, that's not a burial policy. So, well, guess what? That's 60 to 90 more days that's going to take for them to run the claim and for them to get paid out. They can't go use that. So now what they got to do? If you don't have the money, they got to do what? A GoFundMe. Because even though they have a policy, it wasn't the right type of policy.
That makes perfect sense. That's like having a car. You have the original warranty. You have the extended warranty. And then you also have insurance on it.
Yeah.
Did you think about it, right? So like that, okay. Last question, because I do want to talk about the amazing community that you have over at American Dreamers. Last question and this is a very interesting question because we're in a space where the baby boomers are in control and in ownership of a lot of the assets that are here, in America. Homes, businesses, so on and so forth, retirement portfolio, stocks that they've been holding for, whatever the case.
Yeah.
So how do we, as the individuals that are maybe 30 plus, young 30s, where now we have to make sure that our family does have these things in place, which is a hard conversation to have with our family as they're getting older, is there any scripts or techniques that you use, right? Because it's a thing that people don't, I know personally that I've not wanted to ask because as a byproduct, you have to okay, well, when you die, and it's just like you don't want to necessarily think about your parents dying, but, these things happen. And, is there any context that you can give for people to be more open to having that conversation sooner rather than later? Because it's always later.
It's always
later. And
it's
always too late.
It's always later. It's always later. I mean, look, I'll be honest, and that's shameless plug, but a good plug, which is they say, you know what? I just found an interesting club. Really? Yes. And they do events, they do workshops and webinars and festival stuff, and they got a lot going on. Really?
Where can I find this event at?
Yeah. And you know what? They do a lot of galas and dinners, but most importantly, they talk about money, okay? And they talk about generational wealth. And
I need to find this club. What is club at?
And I'm like, you know what? I would love to introduce you, Mom, Dad. I would love to introduce you. Because you know what? I think like I really, I want to see this family succeed. I want to see it grow. And I'm trying my hardest. I'm working. And I think like if I could just make this connection, I don't know. I mean, something big can definitely come out of this.
Right.
Would you be open to like, matter of fact, I know the president. I got her on speed dial.
Yeah.
I want to introduce you. Let me introduce you. And maybe we go, she's cool. And maybe have some tea, have some coffee. And she show you some things.
That's easy. Easy.
That's it. Guess what? You ain't got to say nothing, honey. You just bring them to me and I'll... That's what I do.
And run through it.
Right? But because I do things fun. Because you know what? I'm in the death business. It's not fun. But I make it fun. And I'll make it cool. And I'll make it cute. So... when it comes to American Dreamers, that's what we're about. Building the legacy, building the wealth, building the community, introducing people in a different way, in a fun way that we can interact. We can talk about legacy. We can talk about, life is not promised. Tomorrow's not promised. What are you doing to take your life, your situation, your family, your children to the next level, right? Making sure that we're setting up things for the children. If you got children, all your grandbabies should have things. You know what I mean? That's the conversation that you want to have to make sure, hey, we're just checking dots and I's because guess what? I'm part of this club, and this is what we do. This is what we do here. We're making sure that the Austin family is, successful. That John's family is successful, and that's what I'm paying for. I'm like, Mom, I'm paying this lady thousands of dollars.
Right.
So she's
sure
got to do what she's got to do, okay? So, have the conversation, have some tea, whatever we need to do, what you want to do, brunch, like, however glitzy and glammy that you want me to dress it up, honey, I will do it. You just got to let me know what type of person we're dealing with, and I got you.
And when did you start American Dreamers?
So I started American Dreamers in 2021.
2021,
during
okay.
COVID.
I was about to say, was that a pandemic project?
Pandemic in Newark.
Okay.
In my apartment.
In your apartment, okay.
We started, I had my employees coming to the apartment and we was working and getting things going. So, that's how we started. And we, kind of grew from there, got our office. You come to some of our helicopter parties, stuff that we do,
It is a very real thing, and she's not gassing. And I wanted to make this year's, and I wasn't able to make it.
Okay.
But she is literally you know what I do like about your events? You are very roll the red carpet out for everyone that's in attendance.
Right.
And I think that really makes individuals feel important, appreciated. Where now at that point, it kind of puts people on an even playing field, so that way people can kind of see each other more eye to eye, instead of, because you have some heavy hitter figures that are coming through, right?
Yeah.
But it helps people feel a little bit more eye to eye, that maybe if they did want to pitch a business idea, or maybe if they did want to hey, listen, I've been working on this, what's your thoughts about it?
Yeah.
Maybe they comes with a little bit more confidence instead of yo, that's a heavy hitter over there. I don't know if I want to
That part.
So it's I definitely do appreciate the fact that part about your events. Where is American Dreamers going from here? What's the 5-10 year plan? What do you hope to see come from the community that's growing by the second?
Absolutely. So,
and where can people find the community?
Yes, absolutely. So, of course, more members, more clients. Clients on the insurance side, clients on the membership side, making sure, every member gets their will and their trust and everything like that, right? This is part of generational wealth, making sure everyone has their trust fund and set up, right? Mm-hmm. Having those resources to do so. Maybe you want to buy your first home. You have no idea where to start. You can start with us, right? We'll make sure and guide you there. When it comes to your personal, your credit, your financing, connect you with the right people in the space, in your city, in your town, in every state, all 50 states. We're primarily on the East Coast. We do service also. I have clients in California and Texas and other states too as well, Florida, right? So we want to be able to connect that and have those interactive events, have more people, where, I'll be franchising the concept so they can also have their own American Dreamers in their state.
I like that.
Right? And be able to really double and create what we call, a community more wealth environment where we're having these conversations more openly. This is what we need to do to really see that change and be that change, because people talk about it, honey, but I'm making sure to be about it.
Very
you know
easy to talk
we're going to have a
about.
lot of affiliates working. We have things coming down the pipeline when it comes to affiliates, to our online festival that I've created, and being able to have more speakers bringing that content, exclusive content, on a conference style type theme, and then bringing that knowledge on a replay, on demand, creating more impact that way, making sure that you take the steps to improve your life, making sure you have that mindset, being around the right individuals, and just putting it all in a nice, cute box and giving it to you.
Talk to us about the workbook. You have a workbook as well, right? Is that part of the Dreamers?
Yeah. So we just released the workbook during the New Jersey Women's Expo, which is a 48-page, literally guidebook that'll allow you to kind of like, okay, where do I want to do? Where's my mindset? Maybe I need to figure out my debt. Maybe I need to understand what's the avalanche method. What does it mean with debt? Like, how do I even know what my numbers are? What is my net worth? Just basic things that we kind of overlook. And you want to get this book, especially at the start of the year, before the end of the year. And let me tell you, it's so far people have given me rave reviews on it, and they love it. And just being able to just take basic financial concepts and break it down in like a 50-page guide.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
What keeps you, like, what kind of keeps you going, now? I mean, obviously you're pretty established, and, there's always going to be a new level, new devil, right?
Yeah.
And what are some, let's do this actually, I'll do this question. As you rise through the ranks, new level, new devil, what are the challenges and the tribulations that you are seeing as you rise through the ranks and keep individuals and keep pulling everybody else with you to those new levels? What are the trials and tribulations that you're seeing kind of in your own space, your own business, as you continue on?
I would say on the trials and tribulations, just people understanding, what the message is, what we're offering, how does it help their life, and taking action. Like, people talk a lot of talk, people ain't doing about that action. And I'm an action checker. I'm going to check your actions, honey. So I'm just saying, we want to make sure that, when it comes to that, as part of the trial and the growth, every new level is going to have different individuals coming to you when it comes to their mindset, what they bring to the table. So you're either going to attract good or you're going to attract that negative, right? It all depends on the mind space that you're in when you're growing and you're levering up in life. It just comes with the territory. So we want to make sure, at least when it comes to that, we are keeping each other. And I'm also keeping the right individuals around, the right team around, right? The right resources around, the right connections around, so that when those trials and tribulations come, I can just tap on the door and say, hey, I don't know this, I don't know that. How can I improve this and how can I improve that? And that's the best way to be in business.
I love it.
For your club, do you help your members like access to, let's say, business funding, or what's included within the club?
Yeah. So we go through a few tiers when it comes to on the financial side. So that's everything from helping you with your personal credit and teaming you up with a personal credit coach. And on the funding side, making sure that your LLC is funded and that you have it properly funded and you're utilizing those funds and not using your personal funds for your startup or your business or anything like that. And then also, maybe you need like your taxes done, right? Just having those resources. You want to buy a home and you want to have that mortgage person, help you there. We have all the individuals, especially in your financial team, is a big team. People think it's just one person, not just a tax person. On the insurance side, on the financial side, on the credit side, on the tax side, on the mortgage side. There's a lot of people. So, and then if you're trying to get also on the, on the stocks, that's something else that we offer, teaching people how to leverage and learn the stock game when it comes to stock market investing, especially on the option side, and then be able to put that now into another stream of income. All of these things lead to one thing, which is another stream of income, right? That's going to create that legacy for you to go into that bank so that we're promoting more generational wealth and more of the lifestyle you choose.
You mentioned the word legacy. What do you want to be remembered as far as your particular legacy?
Cute. I love it. So, yes, I would say that the American dream is alive and well, and that anything can be accomplished if you dream it and you believe it, right? So that's my legacy, which is American dreamers, and that's what I'm leaving, right? It's like, how do I be able to now take my idea, my life, create the lifestyle of my dreams. I want to work from home. I want to have that laptop lifestyle. I want to have that travel lifestyle. And where am I going to go? I'm going to American Dreamers, because you know what? They achieved it. They understand it. They created it. And then they created a blueprint for more people to follow. Because at the end of the day, there's a lot of individuals still working regular jobs. Like we think in our entrepreneur world, like, you know, people are like, they got this mindset. People don't have this mindset. Right? It has to be, you have to be in the vicinity of the mindset to acquire the mindset.
That's for
so
sure.
we want to make sure that we are packaging that mindset, packaging the resources and everything in a bow. Literally, here's a bow, here's the bowl, here's the mindset, here's resources, here's the finances, right? Here's the people, here's the connections, here's the community, right? What you going to do with it? What's your next step? How are you going to move?
When you're on your way, as you're on your way, to building this community of 1 million plus activists that are here to push the agenda forward, what are your fears?
Woo, well, the fears, of course, you know, it's always like implosion from the inside, right? Like, oh no, I'm just slaves. I did all this, and now everything kind of implodes from the inside. Or that people take it and do the wrong things with it. Or they take, you know, they just further more on the negative side of things, you know? Where now they have that power. Money, of course, has power. And that's why I want to teach people that you have more money and you're getting that power. You know, let's transform the narrative. Like, it doesn't have to always go the negative route. You know, we've had enough of that. We've had years of, you know, people robbing and stealing and killing and doing all this other stuff. You know, like, can we do anything else for humanity? Like, does humans know anything else? Like, how can we be more of human or humankind that we could help more humans live the human lifestyle of just living and just being and breathing and collecting that laptop money, that money that comes in and you got to work. That's the life that we need. That's what we should be all striving for, not working every day, right? So if we can achieve that together, I think that's the only thing that could really like help us.
What gets you up? What gets you going? What keeps you motivated? What keeps you happy and energetic?
Oh my God. You know, a lot of people ask me that, but you know,
It shows. I mean, listen, the personality's on fire.
Yes.
So,
Listen, like, let me tell you, like, I just, how should I say? You have to, it starts within, you know? I was never like this all the time, you know? Let me tell you, because society doesn't set you up to be that way. Understand? Like, it's negative, it's the mindset, oh, you can't do it, you know? And then when you really like understand, you start learning from other people and you start doing the reading and the research and stuff like that. Like for me, I just wanted to, you know, live a positive mindset, a happy lifestyle. And it starts from you internally. It starts from your diet. It starts from your exercise. It starts with what you're telling yourself. Because I say, listen, I am my own cheerleader, you know? And when everybody around me, which they were, no, Nekei, right? I was like, yeah, girl, you got this. Yes, you got this. You're a winner. And just keep going that energy. And then all of a sudden that energy, right? It just starts picking up more energy.
It's extremely
and more
contagious.
energy, right? And becomes contagious. And now other people are like, oh, because you got the energy. Now it just, you know, it influx and then it motivates. So I self-motivate, right? I self-talk. I do a lot of self-healing. You got to heal from your traumas. That's another thing. A lot of people, we carry traumas from our childhood that we haven't healed. And then you're trying to bring that into your adult life to now run a business where you want people to follow you. And then you're not even healed. Like, who's going to do that? No. We need to come back, you know, understand who we are as a person, as an individual. What do you bring to the table? What do you bring to humanity? You know, what do you want to leave as your legacy? And that's what I tell myself every day. Because, you know what? I just want this to be contagious.
It was a funny story because when she talks about, like, you know, taking action, taking something and actually working with it, putting it into play and putting it into motion ASAP. She really is about that life, because I know for Laura, and I think it's the Latinos in real estate, and you know, they were asking like, yeah, do you know anybody that's like, you know, kind of in a connector space, that's a super connector, that's a plug? And I was like, you know, there's this individual, Nekei, I just met her, but she just seems like she's just on it and ready to take on kind of whatever challenge, as long as it's in a space where she feels like she's contributing it, and she is gung ho. And I made the connection. And I think the week after that, you had a position or a chair, completely ran with it. So like it's actually completely true, just far as your work ethic and what when you're putting things into motion. So let me ask you, because you're doing all these amazing things on the entrepreneurship, on the philanthropy side of it, what does Nekei do for fun?
What do you mean? This is fun for me. Like, I love this.
I don't want that cliche answer. I don't want that cliche.
I know it seems cliche.
What is that?
It seems cliche, but no. Like, I'm saying that's part of it. Like, I'm dead serious.
For sure.
Like, I really enjoy. Like, if you're not living and working in what you love, then it's not fun. But this is fun for me.
Right.
So creating is fun. I paint. So
Thank you.
sometimes I do like my
Painting.
sipping paints, right?
Shout
That's
out.
fun.
Painting. Okay,
Yes, I do
let's
a little
dive into that.
painting.
Is that a next business venture?
Well,
She's establishing her own equity in it.
I'm doing some things, but yes, just on the creative side, just anything creative. That's fun. And now since as being a homeowner and stuff, I'm getting into the whole decor space, and I like decoration, right? So anything creative, paint, decor, that kind of thing. Like I love, and I love shopping.
Rightfully so. Listen, Nekei's fits are unmatched.
I love fashion.
Yes.
I love shopping, and I love travel. Seeing exploring spaces. Let me be honest. I do love being in nature. That's really
There
key.
we go.
There
we go.
When it comes to nature, getting close to self, and just being one with the trees. Yeah, I'm all that.
I'm here for it. As we start our descent here, we always like to allow some time for the guests to know a little bit behind the woman behind the machine, where they're able to connect with self. It's like, I see a little bit of her in me, and that's kind of sometimes as an inspiration technique is sometimes we just need somebody that had a similar passion outside of business for us to hear and connect with them a little bit more, to hear their message. So that's why we like to really, kind of get the chance to learn the person behind it.
I'm a big music fan.
Yes,
music, writing, all that stuff. We'll talk about that another time, but yes, all that stuff.
The final two questions before we get up out of here. My final two, and then just in case John has any. Are there any books that you might recommend, or any books? Let's just do books. Any books that you recommend for anybody that's listening that you read besides the workbook, because I know that's on fire. Is there any books that you read and was just like, yo, this one changed my life?
I mean, there's a couple key ones. Right off the top of my head, Tools of the Titan. It's a really big book.
Tools of the Titan.
Yeah,
Interesting.
but it's big. It's got enough for you in all levels in there. So if you can't
Is that
find...
Tim Ferriss?
Yes.
That's Tim Ferriss, okay.
Yeah, so I would say,
That's a good one. He has a couple good books.
Yeah.
Because that's a book where it's like almost like you can almost go for reference, not necessarily like a front to back read, but like if you needed a lesson on adversary or whatever the case, he had an interview with some. I think if that's the
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Tools of Titans. Shout out to Tim Ferriss, also the author of 4 Hour Work Week, which is a very, very popular book.
Shout out to Tim.
Okay, so Tools of Titans.
I love a lot of things from Les Brown and what he's got when it comes to that and mindset and podcasts, and just like, when I was like in a different space and I wanted to get motivated, and just like he would just say, in terms of just being happy and just doing it and believing it. You got to believe yourself, and just like how he talks, he's also a really great speaker. I recommend.
I got you. Okay.
No, just jump into where can people find you?
Yeah. So, AmericanDreamers.club. Right? You can create your account. You can be able to reach out, schedule your one-on-one, right? So like, you know what? I really want to learn more. I want to dive into self, right? You can follow me on Instagram at AskNekei, which is AskNekei. Follow American Dreamers Club and American Dreamers Festival, also on Instagram. So yes.
I didn't get a chance, like I said, I didn't get a chance to make this one, but I've been to events in the past. You really, please, for anybody that's listening, watching, please be sure to tap in with her And if you can, please attend at least one of the events. They're very, very motivating. They're very, very inspiring. And more importantly, if you're already in the space where you're already inspired, you're already motivated. But the reality is that, and I think the quote is, motivation is like a bath. You have to do it daily. And the reality is that Nekei keeps you in the environment for you to stay with the proper habits, the proper action items, for you to continue to grow as a professional, no matter what you're looking to do in this particular space. Nekei, as always, I appreciate you for tapping in. Appreciate you for taking time out the schedule, because I know you're running around like crazy. Running multiple businesses, having your hands in multiple pots. So I'm glad that off the last minute you were able to tap in with us. We're greatly, greatly, greatly appreciative of it. Ladies and gentlemen, be sure to like, comment, subscribe to the Real Estate Blueprint podcast, so that way we can keep sharing this sugar, keep adding value as we continue to all grow in our own respective professional space. This is Austin, aka More Than an Agent, here with John Soto, my Dominicano hermano. Did you have something else?
John does real estate. That's all.
Okay. Well, tapped in. We have the beautiful and lovely Nekei here. Tap in with her, please. She will change your life. This is the Real Estate Blueprint podcast, signing off.